Hi, this is Jacqueline here with the Grow Program. Thank you for growing with me on today. I was thinking on the legend, the king, Chadwick Boseman. I think about all the legends. I think about the freedom fighters. And one thing I do think about is that they didn't die in vain. They didn't die. Their fight wasn't for nothing. Their fight will continue on. And that drive is in me. The Grow movement is propelled by a force that is stronger than me. The ancestors and God are what is propelling this movement forward. This is not me to have a movement and a following in 33 countries all across the United States. And speaking of, real quick, I want to give a shout out to my hometown, East St. Louis. I love you, East St. Louis. We're going to build up East St. Louis. It's going to be beautiful. That's what the Grow Program is. It's to build up everywhere and lift people from oppression, because the oppression not only has affected Africans, it has affected a lot of people from different races. As you can see, we have hatred from minorities coming from, just coming to all minorities, with the Asian hate, what's going on in Georgia, and Georgia, I'm telling you, Georgia is on my mind because there's so much hate in Georgia. Even though we're thriving as a people in Georgia, there's so much resistance there against minorities in Georgia. I mean, the evil does not want to see anything but a white supremacy. And so we on the side of God are fighting that. We are fighting for genuine equality. We are fighting for greatness. We are fighting, to have equal rights in this country, just as anyone else, to fight against mass incarceration, to fight against injustice, where we see it, to fight against police brutality, but we're going to rise above it. We're going to rise above the evil. We're not going to give in to the evil. We're going to rise above the evil. So we're rising above the resistance right now as we are growing everywhere. And I was thinking about this legend, Chadwick Boseman. He is, I told you his death was the first Grow video that I made. And I was thinking about cancer, because another legend who wasn't famous died of cancer. And that was who I talked to you about, Stan. And cancer is very painful. I didn't realize, I knew it was painful, but I didn't know how painful. I didn't know exactly what is happening, that the cancer cells are taking up all the nutrients, as you're eating or whatever you're trying to do. All of that food and nutrient goes into the cancer, and the cancer just keeps growing and spreading. And they're trying to eradicate it with treatment and everything, but the treatment has side effects, and it makes you sicker a lot of times. But I want you to think about something. These two legends, one famous, one ain't famous. They both fighting cancer. I remember trying to get him to get up to eat. And I told him, I said, you got to fight. And he got up and out the bed and and was eating a piece of pizza and was trying to eat, trying to eat a little food. And, he fought. And even with the legend, Chadwick Boseman, he fought. He rose up when he got time to rise up. He rose up, and didn't nobody ever know that he was suffering. Because see, a legend is not woe is me. A legend is going to fight all the way to the end, till they can't fight no more. I told you, he came out of a coma and looked me in my eye and squeezed my hand and then laid back down. And 2 days later, he passed. That's, you got to fight until transition. You are more than a conqueror in God who loves you, and God lives in us. It's the God in us. We got to keep going. We got to keep fighting, because we are warriors, just like the ancient kings and queens. They were warriors. we're warriors too. So we got to fight on. We're in a spiritual warfare, that's coming at us and it's trying to attack us. It's coming through people. It's come through people that you love, people you work with, your friends, your longtime friends, your husband, your wife, your kids, anybody. It's just coming at you. But what you got to do, you got to block it. Just like you block the burglars and lock them out, you got to lock out that chaos, negativity, and drama. You got to begin to remove yourself out that situation because it's going to keep on manifesting. Now, it's somebody that's coming and bringing this chaos to you constantly. A loved one that's steady coming to you and bringing drama and this, that, and the other. You're going to have to block that off. You got to show them, hey, look, I'm not on that no more. Because, see, I don't want to get involved in any of that anymore. My name has been pulled all kind of mess. I'm saying just because I talk to you, next thing you know, I said such and such. So see, that's how we got to stop all this chaos, all this backbiting, all this foolishness. It's just like a soap opera. Our lives, we don't have to tune into the soap opera. Our lives is turned into a soap opera. But see what you do, you block that mess. Stop watching that foolishness and block that mess. Now I'm telling you something. It's time for entertainment, of course. You like watching your TV shows and entertainment and everything, different things like that. Me, myself, no. Because I have to check in with the news, but I have to get the wisdom. I have to meditate so I can get a word to you. So I had to cut out all of that stuff because, see, that stuff will manifest in your life. You need to be on a spiritual walk with God. We are on a spiritual journey, a spiritual holistic walk. This is African spirituality. And you're going to learn a whole lot about it on this journey we on. But it's beautiful. It's not witchcraft, black magic, and voodoo. Just because it has to do with Africans don't make it evil. Anything that used to be associated with us is evil. That's why we had all these different kind of names. And then we went to black. That was the last name we had. And the only reason I say that is because the song that legend and that King James Brown made, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. Other than that, black is a color. White is a color. We are we are not the definition of black. We are African, and that means royalty. That means beautiful, elegant, a rose growing in God's garden, unique, special, different, got a lot to offer. You are a legend. You are a conqueror. You need to rise. You are not what they said you are. You are not what they labeled you as. You are not what they determined that you're going to be. What the last time they saw you, that's how you was. You ain't none of that no more. You better than that. You need to rise up and get off of that. Get up off of that pity party, because woe is not you. That ain't none of you. And regardless, whatever happened in the past, thank your past. Listen to that episode again. Thank your past, because that's who created who you are today. See, my past helped create who I am today, to tell you how to get up out of oppression. Because see, if years ago the Lord had granted my wishes and gave me the lottery like I asked him to, I wouldn't have known nothing about telling you about oppression. I'd been laying up on some beach somewhere, wouldn't even been known about oppression. But I thank the Lord that I went through, because he pulled me out of it. I kept my sail open, and the Lord pulled me out of it. He pulled me out of this oppression. He taught me how to grow over it, how to begin to reach my greatness, how to let go of all this old stuff. Even though I don't want to fool with nobody, I leave folks alone, because see, if I know you still on some chaos, then I know then you ain't ready to grow with me. Because see, we on a journey. We on a holistic journey. And yes, no, we ain't perfect. But see, we stop doing certain different things. We come to a fork in the road. We become a legend. We're in this world. We're not of this world. We're transformed by a renewing of our minds. So we don't think that way anymore. Those old ways pass away, just like a great mountain. It sloughs off all that old stuff. That old stuff pass away, and you begin to rise in God and reach your greatness. Because if a great mountain, if it can't slough off all that old stuff, it won't rise. It won't reach its greatness, and it'll I'm telling you, it won't make it. and you want to reach your greatness in God. You want to make it. You want God when you go to judgment. Well done, my good and faithful servant. Because the heart is the design for your action. See, people got it messed up. People think that the best suit win you to heaven, or how much money you hand the pastor win you to heaven, or what song you sung in the praise and worship team win you to heaven. That ain't how you get there, honey. You don't get the glory that way. You don't get the glory here on earth that way. You get the glory through your heart. How is your heart? The heart is the design for your actions. It is the architect. If you got an evil heart and you in there serving and doing it in church, you can hide from the pastor. You can hide down in the pulpit. You can hide from the motherboard. But you can't hide from God, honey. God knows that heart. God can see that evil heart. See, I can look at your face, but God can see that evil heart. You can't hide from God. You can't duck from God. No matter what you do, God knows. So what you got to do now is say, forgive me. Lord, forgive me. And then you move on and you do better. You start doing better. You start treating people better. You don't get over on folks. Don't get over on the lost and talented. The talented and lost. Don't do them like that. Don't take advantage of your brother. Don't be a stumbling block and put that in front of your brother to hurt him. You got over, but you hurt him in the process. You know what was getting ready to happen. Be a helping hand. Lift him up. We're here to lift one another up, not to be a stumbling block. We are here for one another. We are here to be God's servant. That's what that means, to lift one another up as a race. Look at what Chadwick Boseman did in the midst of his pain and suffering. He was here to lift up the African race. And that's exactly what he did his whole entire life. When you think of him, you just look up to him. Even when you thinking of him, you just start looking up, because that's what he did. He lifted us, as a people. And he is an example of what we need to be. He was a king here on earth, as well as the other kings and legends that were here on earth. Some were cut short. Some fell victim to the oppression. But you know what? We have got to do better. It's time for us to begin to rise as a people, and to rise from this oppression and no longer fail to it. Fail. No longer will we fail to the oppression. We are going to rise. We are going to rise up. We are not going to fall for these setups and traps they got. Don't fall into that foolishness. Getting these PPP loans, I'm telling you, and you lying, because what's gonna happen is you're gonna get the money. Yeah, they're gonna hurry up and get to you, and then they're gonna start looking at them applications, and then there you go, honey. You lied about something. Don't do that. Don't lie about these applications. Get it caught up with this government. Anything got to do with the United States is the United States versus you. You don't want no part of that. So we got to, keep your head up. Don't fall for these traps and setups. Get up. I'm telling you, it's time to wise up. We do, people. We got to wise up and rise up. We are legends, transformed by a renewing of our mind. We no longer think that way. We no longer think that way. We are legends. I love you. God bless you. May the beloved ancestors keep you. They are. They're going to keep you. They're going to manifest beautiful things in your life. Just keep your heart forgiving, and help one another. Keep growing in God. Tell someone to grow, because this is how we grow. I love you.